South Dakota State's women finish a perfect conference schedule to become the first Summit League team to go unbeaten in back-to-back seasons.
And also the Jackrabbit men's team avoids chaos and wins twice to secure the top seed in Sioux Falls, earning their 7th 1 seed in program history.
And Kansas City finishes as the hottest team on the men's side. The Roos carry a 6-game winning streak and secure the 2 seed for this week's Summit League tournament. Hi there and welcome to another edition of Summit League Spotlight. He's Darron Wallace. I'm Kienan Dixon. We will reveal the league awards and all Summit League teams later in the show, but first, a historic run continues for Aaron Johnston's South Dakota State side. The Jackrabbits continue to roll.
Yeah, I mean, running it back, running the gauntlet through the regular season, 2 seasons in a row, something that's never been done in the Summit League. I mean, and when you consider what they had to go through, the adversity they had to overcome, I mean, at one point down to just 7 scholarship players and still finding a way to go undefeated, that's incredible.
It really is.
And also, Keenan, Eric Henderson's Jackrabbits, they had to win some key games down the stretch after a lot of roller coastering during the regular season. They ended up earning the top seed in the Wild Men's League. They won 5 straight heading into Sioux Falls. They should be the team that everyone's afraid of going into the Denny this weekend.
Yeah, and what a difficult season they had to go through as well. The men's schedule, the men's season, the men's league was so tight from top to bottom all the way through, really until this past weekend when South Dakota State finally got some separation. And Kansas City, well, their turnaround is just as impressive as North Dakota's was earlier this season. But it happened at the best time of the year for the Roos. They've won 6 straight wins, and it's the most in program history. To finish off a regular season, they'll get their 3rd 2 seed in program history in the Summit League tournament.
Yeah, Jamar Brown and Marvin Mimsy, they got their guys cooking. There was a lot of uncertainty. They were one of the teams at the beginning of the regular season that was kind of near the bottom of the league. They really turned things around. They got hot at the right time. They're playing some of the best basketball they've played in recent years, not just recent memory, in recent total years. And now they're one of those teams that could be a sneaky team in Sioux Falls. I'm excited to see what they can do.
Kansas City was selected 8th in the preseason poll. Let's take a look at the bracket for this year's Summit League tournament. First on the women's side, South Dakota State owns the top seed after completing a 16-0 league slate. They've won 47 straight regular season games, and including last year's tournament, the Jacks have now won 37 straight in league play. North Dakota State is the 2 seed for the 2nd straight season. Oral Roberts has their highest seeding at 3, matching their 2015 seed. South Dakota State is at 4, St. Thomas at 5, North Dakota at 6. The 7 seed is Denver, and Kansas City and Omaha have the 8 and the 9 seeds respectively.
And on the men's side, South Dakota State is the top seed for the 7th time in program history. They've won from that post 3 times, the last time being that 2022 undefeated season led by, of course, Baylor Shireman. Kansas City is the 2 seed after being selected 8th in the preseason poll. What a turnaround from them. North Dakota is the 3 seed. St. Thomas checks in at the 4 seed. North Dakota State is the 5th seed. Omaha sits at 6th, Denver at 7, and Oral Roberts and South Dakota round things out as the 8 and 9 seeds respectively.
And that's the bracket for this week's Summit League tournament. The action tips off on Friday at the Denny Sanford Premier Center right here in Sioux Falls and also right here on Summit League Network. It's time to hand out some awards as voted on by select media, coaches, and the sports information directors around the league. We start with the women's all-freshman team. Emily Robinson from Oral Roberts, Abby Kraswinski from North Dakota State, North Dakota's Kira Pemberton, Amani Bennett from Kansas City, and Jenna Hopp from South Dakota State earned spots on this year's team. The women's all-newcomer team looks like this. Talia Jones and her teammate Jaylee Oglesby from Oral Roberts, South Dakota's Kendall Holmes, and Kansas City's Elena Contreras and Dominique Phillips. The all-newcomer team on the men's side is Jamar Brown from Kansas City, Raheem Anthony from St. Thomas, Lahat Chun from South Dakota, Caleb Stewart from South Dakota, and Amara Kuljahovic from North Dakota.
On the women's all-defensive team, Brooklyn Meyer from South Dakota State. She led the league in blocks. Ruthie Odomo from Oral Roberts. Tori Nelson, the captain from South Dakota State. Most consecutive starts in program history, by the way. Elle Evans from North Dakota State. Hannah Cooper from Oral Roberts will round out that team. Then on the men's all-defensive team, Will Kyle III from South Dakota State. Charlie Easley, the Warrior, also from South Dakota State. Babacar Diallo from Kansas City. Eli King, the 6th man from North Dakota. And Jakari White from North Dakota State.
The women's all-summit honorable mention squad. Amber Scalia from St. Thomas, Omaha's Grace Cave, South Dakota State's Madison Mathiewicz, Jaylee Oglesby from Oral Roberts earns a nod on her second All-Summit League team this year, and Emma Smith from Denver. For the men, South Dakota stars Lahat Chun and Caleb Stewart, North Dakota State's Bowden Skunberg, Charlie Easley from South Dakota State, and Toko Tynamo from Denver.
On the women's second team, we've got Heaven Hamling from North Dakota State, 8th in the conference in scoring. Talia Jones from Oral Roberts, 3rd in the conference from scoring. She can light it up. JoJo Jones from Denver, and Ruthie Adomo from Oral Roberts averaged nearly a double-double this season. And rounding out the team is Jade Hill from St. Thomas, 2nd in the league in assists this year. And then on the men's second team, we've got Andrew Morgan, the big man from North Dakota State, 13.2 points per game. Isaac McBride from Oral Roberts led the conference in minutes per game. Tom Thibodeau would like that guy. A little foreshadowing there. Raheem Anthony from St. Thomas, 4th in the conference in steals. And Tyree Iheanacho from North Dakota became eligible midway through the year, averaged 14.8 points per game. Really essential for that Fighting Hawks team. And then rounding things out, Parker Bjorklund from St. Thomas. And who hasn't heard his story?
Who hasn't? One of the best stories in the country. Walk-on turned All-Summit League selection. Incredible stuff. The women's first team All-Summit selections, South Dakota State's teammates Brooklyn Meyer and Paige Meyer, not related, but they earned nods after their top performances, led the Jackrabbits to another undefeated regular season. Sophomore Brooklyn Meyer averaged 17 points and 8 rebounds per contest, while Paige Meyer averaged 14 points, 4 dimes, and 3 rebounds per game. North Dakota State sophomore Elle Evans adds her name to the list, averaging 15 points per game. Casey Borovich from North Dakota led the league in scoring for the second straight year, scoring 21 points per game. Hannah Cooper led Oral Roberts to the 3 seed with her stellar season, earning a spot on the first team alongside South Dakota's Grace Larkins, who earns her second consecutive first-team honor. The men's first-team All-Summit League selections, preseason player of the year from South Dakota State, Zeke Mayo. The junior guard averages 19 points per game while helping the Jackrabbits to a top seed in the Summit League tournament. Sophomore Jackrabbit forward William Kyle III earned first-team honors for the first time in his career, dominating the interior with his highlight dunks and timely blocks. Omaha's Frankie Fiddler earns his name among the best 6 in the Summit, finishing with 23 points per conference game. The nation's leading scorer comes from Denver. Tommy Bruner earns a spot on the first team with his 24.5 points per game this season. North Dakota's BJ Omot led the Fighting Hawks to a 3 seed, rebounding from an 0-3 start in league play to finish above their projected position in the preseason poll. And Kansas City made the largest turnaround thanks in large part to Jamar Brown. The JUCO transfer made an instant impact on the Roos and earns his spot on the first team.
All right, there it is. Congratulations to all of them. Very well deserved. Really incredible seasons.
Yeah.
Really incredible seasons on both sides, but specifically the men's side. So many great storylines. We've got newcomers of the year. We've got 2 of them, one on the women's side, one on the men's side. For the women, no surprise, probably if you've been following along and following our show, Talia Jones from Oral Roberts. That's one of the midseason awards that we got right. She was 3rd in the league in scoring, 17 points a game, had 2 30-point games, 37, a career high for her against South Dakota. Well-deserved. Congratulations to Talia. And then, of course, as you just mentioned, Jamar Brown from Kansas City, the newcomer of the year on the men's side. 15.8 points per game. Ton of clutch shots all season long. He's the reason that they finished 2nd in the league after the way they started. They wouldn't be where they're at right now if it wasn't for Jamar Brown.
Jamar Brown, significant player on that really good Kansas City team. They've won 6 straight and are a dangerous squad coming to Sioux Falls. The women's freshman of the year comes from Oral Roberts. Emily Robinson started all 28 games she played in and averaged 11 points and 4 rebounds per game, making an instant impact on Kelsey Music's high-powered offense and leading ORU to a 3 seed in this week's tournament. The men's freshman of the year is Kansas City's Jason Petty. The 6'4 guard from Phoenix moved from a bench role to a starter in the back half of the season and helped spark the Roos' current 6-game winning streak. Petty averaged 6 points and 3 rebounds per game.
Yeah, very impressive stuff. Kansas City got contributions from everybody.
They did.
They definitely needed it. Now let's talk defense. The women's defensive player of the year, Brooklyn Meyer, from South Dakota State. She broke the record for blocks as a sophomore in a single season at South Dakota State. None better on the defensive side than Brooklyn Meyer. Then on the men's side, another one from South Dakota State, William Powell III. He was second in the conference in blocks per game. He guards multiple positions. He was sixth in the conference in rebounding, and every single coach in the country will tell you that the key part of defense is securing those rebounds. So congratulations to the two players from Brookings, well-deserved.
William Kyle, one of the more explosive players in the Summit that you'll see. A very exciting player. Excited to see him in the tournament this week. The sixth woman of the year is Jaylee Oglesby from Oral Roberts, also named to the all-newcomer and honorable mention teams. Oglesby dominated coming off of the bench, averaging 14 points and 6 rebounds per contest for the Golden Eagles while shooting 51% from the field. The sixth man of the year is Christian Corsalt from Kansas City. The transfer from Los Angeles averaged 10 points per game off the bench, handing out the second most assists per game in the league with 4, while maintaining one of the best assist-to-turnover ratios in the Summit.
Yeah. Just one quick thing about Jaylee Oglesby.
Yes.
Sixth woman of the year. She was, for a long time, I think she ended up finishing 11th. She was number 10 in the entire conference in scoring coming off the bench. So really impressive stuff by her. It feels like every time she comes in the game, she just doesn't miss.
And those are another 2 players that we selected correctly in the midseason awards.
So
Jaylee Oglesby and Christian Corsalt.
Maybe we know ball. Who knows? Who knows? All right. Of course, all these players couldn't get it done without the work of their hard-working coaches who work day in and day out to do what they do and lead their teams to wins. We'll start on the women's side. It's Erin Johnson from South Dakota State. Don't think there's much of a surprise there when you consider the adversity he went through. It's the first time that a team in the Summit League has run through the gauntlet. He's perfect 16-0, 2 seasons in a row, rather undefeated 2 seasons in a row.
Yeah.
No one has ever done that. And when you consider what they went through, Erin Johnson, very deserving. That team, they play like a well-oiled machine. A lot of that is because of what Erin Johnson is able to cook up in terms of schemes and tech. He's an ultimate tactician. Really great coach. Well-deserved there. On the men's side, Marvin Memzies from Kansas City. He does more than bake bread, Keenan. I know you're waiting to try some of his bread from his famous bakery. He always raves about how he's cooking. But one thing he's also cooking is great game plans. And one of the reasons why, obviously, we talk about the players, Jamar Brown and what he was able to do for Kansas City. But Marvin Memzies, one thing about him is he believes in his guys, he believes in his players. A lot of transfers, a lot of new faces on that Kansas City team when you compare what they look like to last year. So a lot of credit goes to Marvin Memzies for the turnaround that he was able to spark for his program. And he's a big reason why they're number 2 in the Summit League going into the tournament.
A very cool and calm and collected coach on the sideline. Fun to watch his team, and all of a sudden they're right back in the top 2. Significant stuff that he's done in Kansas City. Well, it's time to hand out the Player of the Year awards. It's what everybody's been waiting for, right?
Yeah.
The Women's Player of the Year is sophomore Brooklyn Meyer. The South Dakota State star forward led the Jackrabbits with 17 points and 8 rebounds per contest, leading the Jacks to a 16-0 unbeaten season and again a top seed in the Summit League tournament. After coming off the bench in all 35 games a year ago, Meyer transitioned into a key starting role and more than tripled her scoring average, giving a productive 28 minutes per game to the best team in the Summit League.
She also doesn't miss, Keenan.
She does not.
Just never misses shots.
The Men's Player of the Year is South Dakota State's Zeke Mayo. The junior guard from Lawrence, Kansas was named preseason Player of the Year and led the Jackrabbits to its 7th 1 seed in the Summit League tournament. Mayo averaged 19 points and 6 rebounds per game, while also adding 4 helpers per game this season. Known for his big shot ability, Mayo took on big moments with ease to navigate one of the most competitive league schedules the Summit has ever seen to lead South Dakota State to the top seed in this week's tournament. Well, those are the awards, very deserving for everybody, and it's always fun to kind of see how it pans out in the end.
Yeah, you mentioned clutch shots. Allow me to shamelessly, Damian Lillard, we know you worked with your boy Zeke in the offseason. He had a great season. I'm sure he'll give you some credit for that. Pop out to Sioux Falls, man. If there's any time, there's no time. You're a small school guy. Weber State from the Big Sky. We had the Big Sky Summit League Challenge.
Yeah.
I think if this is the best time to get Dame Lillard to the Summit League tournament. Let's hashtag get Dame to the Summit. Get Dame to the Sioux.
Yeah.
Get Dame to the Sioux.
I'm on board with that.
As far as the awards, everybody's deserving. It was a really good year on both sides. The men's side, It was a toss-up for a lot of the teams as a whole as far as standings. Every player, I mean, it seemed like every game you wanted to tune into because you never know who was going to win. Incredible finish to the season. We wanted some chaos. We didn't quite get it, but huge shout-out and huge congratulations to all the players. Everybody very deserving of where they got.
And we still could get some chaos this week.
Yeah.
I mean, it is March.
It is March.
Right? Check the watch, right? Well, and the coach of the year, we should mention, I mean, Paul Sather, the work that he did up in North Dakota, a team that was picked 5th in the preseason poll. Really, the expectations in those first few weeks of the league season weren't there for where they are now.
Yeah, I mean, you could have gone either way between him and Marvin Menzies. I mean, I feel it's not a slight to Coach Sather in any way. I mean, these are two coaches that led incredible turnarounds. I mean, Kansas City was the 7th seed a year ago. They turn around, they end up as the 2nd seed. And North Dakota was the 9 seed a year ago. They turn around, they end up as the 3 seed. That's plus, it's +5 for Kansas City, +6 for UND. That's an incredible turnaround. So really, both coaches were deserving. The award will go to Marvin Menzies, but I don't think people will forget what Paul Sather did this year.
Yeah, significant stuff. And Eric Henderson from South Dakota State leading the Jackrabbits, again, slaloming through that difficult schedule. It seemed like there was no break for any team on the men's side week in and week out.
Yeah, I think I just want to publicly cast my vote for Hendo for most positive head coach of the year. You can't get Eric Henderson to say anything negative. He is always Mr. Positive. Another great job, another great year by him and his staff.
Jackrabbits are the top seed on both the men's and the women's side. Coming up after the break, Darron will hand out some of his awards. And yeah, he's pretty excited for that.
Get ready, we're ballin'. You go right, I go left. Put it work, trip and sweat. Ain't even halftime yet. We're ballin'. Bounce 'em out the floor. Get 'em, check the score. Yeah, we get 'em. They ain't even know what hit 'em. We're ballin'. They wanna get like me. You better turn this thing up a couple hundred degrees. We're ballin'. I got glory in my bones. Now don't let me into my zone.
From the first shot to the final buzzer, don't miss a moment of the Summit League basketball season. Midco Sports Plus is the streaming home for all your Summit League teams. Subscribe today for exclusive content, expert team analysis, complete game coverage, and every single minute of Summit League action. Subscribe and watch at midcosportsplus.com.
Welcome back to Summit League Spotlight here on Championship Week as we get ready for the Summit League tournament. And we just handed out some official awards voted on by the sports information directors, select media, and coaches around the league. But we have one media member who wants to hand out some of his own awards. I think these are pretty good ones.
Yeah, the unofficial, official Summit League awards, okay? So these are just my personal awards that I'm giving out. If any of you players or coaches are watching, if you hear their name called, find me in the Premier Center so I can present them with their masterpiece. We'll get into that a little bit later. But so here are my awards for these players. We're going to start with the players that aren't related but have the same last name, Dynamic Duo Award, and that's going to Brooklyn and Paige Meyer. Brooklyn and Paige have the same last name, but they're not related. I remember when I heard their names last year when I moved here, I thought they were related. They're actually not. They're just both really good at basketball. So congratulations to Brooklyn and Paige. If you would like your masterpiece, find me in the Premier Center. Next, we're moving on to the Jelly Lay of the Year. For those of you who are unfamiliar, the Jelly Lay, it's a style of layup. It looks really cool. And the best Jelly layup.
It's offensive swag.
Offensive swag. Playing with swag.
Yeah.
Shout out Grant Nelson. You're very missed in the Summit League.
Richmond.
Dave Richmond as well. Dave Richmond. He actually said it.
He knows, yeah.
Year. So he knows. You got to play with swag to be a good player. And someone who plays with swag is Dawn Phillips. She's got the Jelly Lay of the Year. Their social media team, they decked it out with some nice music. It looked really great. And as the resident New Jersey native in South Dakota, I feel very qualified to hand out this award. So Dawn Phillips, Jelly Layup of the Year. Next, we're going to move on to the Pogo Stick Player of the Year. This is for the best dunker in the conference, and that's going to Will Kyle III. I don't think there should be any surprises. Every time Will Kyle dunks, it's like time stops and he just like freezes in midair, and he doesn't come down until he's thrown it down really, really hard. So, Will, if you see me at the Premier Center and you'd like your masterpiece, it's a work in progress, just stay with me.
These are pieces of art.
Yeah, these are pieces of art that are being put together by me. So if you want to see your piece of art, find me in the Premier Center. I'll present it to you. It'll be your award, hanging up on your wall, hanging up on your fridge. Show it to your kids down the line. I don't know if you have any kids, but yeah, we're going to just congratulate you for being the best dunker in the Summit League. Now, we're going to move on to the Mamba Mentality Clutch Player of the Year. R.I.P. Kobe. But Boston, you were honoring his legacy because you have come up with a ton of clutch buckets all season long. You saw it like 1,000% anytime South Dakota needed a big shot. So kudos to you. You were the Kobe Bryant Mamba Mentality Clutch Player of the Year in the Summit League for the 2023-2024 season. Well deserved.
I mean, how many times did he have to come down the court or, a sideline inbounds? And Eric Peterson said, let's draw it up before Boston Holt.
Yeah,
he's going to make this
every
shot.
time.
Yes.
Every time. So, Boston, congratulations again. If you want your work of art, find me in the Premier Center. I can give it to you to hang up on your ceiling. So every night when you go to bed, you can look up and be reminded that you are more clutch than anyone else. Then, lastly, one of my favorite awards as a Knicks fan, this is the Tom Thibodeau You're Not Coming Out of the Game Player of the Year. Of course, we all know Tom Thibodeau likes to run his players into the ground, and when he really likes a player, they're playing no less than 45 of the 48 minutes in an NBA game. And we have a couple of players who average quite a few minutes. So on the men's side, we're giving it to Isaac McBride. He averaged 38.6 minutes per game. College basketball games are 40 minutes long. He doesn't rest a lot. So he deservedly gets the award. Congrats to you, Isaac. Again, you want your work of art, find me in the Premier Center. I can give it to you and just tell you you're a workhorse, because you are. On the other side, Emma Smith. She wins it from Denver. She never comes out of the game. I think we should also give her kudos because playing in Denver with the high altitude, it's known for being a little tougher.
Yeah.
So, Emma Smith, she never comes out of the game. If I was Doja Woods, I wouldn't take her out of the game much either. She's a good player. So congratulations to you. Congratulations to all of you players who earned my personal awards for the season. If you see this, find me in the Premier Center this weekend. I'll present you with your piece of art, and you can tell your family and friends how good you are at basketball.
If they see this, where should they find you?
In the Premier Center.
Okay, all right. Just wanted to clarify that. I don't have any awards. Those are Darron's awards. Congratulations on that, and congratulations to all the award winners around the Summit as well. Coming up, we'll preview the first and the second rounds of the Summit League tournament coming up this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Get ready, we're ballin'. You go right, I go left. Put in work, trip and sweat, ain't even halftime yet. We're ballin'. That's a mop the floor. Get 'em, check the score. Yeah, we get 'em. They ain't even know what hit 'em. We're ballin'. They wanna get like me. You better turn this thing up a couple 100 degrees. We're ballin'. I got glory in my bones. Now don't let me into my zone.
From the first shot to the final buzzer, don't miss a moment of the Summit League basketball season. Midcoast Sports Plus is the streaming home for all your Summit League teams. Subscribe today for exclusive content, expert team analysis, complete game coverage, and every single minute of Summit League action. Subscribe and watch at midcoastsportsplus.com.
Here we go. The week we've all been waiting and working toward. It's Summit League Basketball Tournament Week. Come on now. The schedule for the week includes all first, quarterfinal, and semifinal games on Summit League Network. Men's semifinal, I should add. The women's semifinals and both championship games will be televised on CBS Sports Network. On the men's side, Oral Roberts plays South Dakota in the 8-9 matchup Friday night, with the winner playing top-seeded South Dakota State on Saturday. 2-seed Kansas City plays 7-seed Denver Saturday night. St. Thomas and North Dakota State face off on Sunday, as do North Dakota and Omaha to round out the second round of the Summit League tournament. On the women's side, it's 8-seed Kansas City against 9-seed Omaha on Friday. Winner will move on to play South Dakota State Saturday afternoon. North Dakota State holds the 2-seed and plays Denver. South Dakota plays St. Thomas on Sunday, along with the Oral Roberts North Dakota contest. So let's jump into these matchups and preview them one final time this season.
And these are for real this time.
These are.
These are for real.
This is where it matters. One and done basketball here. Winner advances and loser goes home. This is it.
Yeah, this is it.
This is
Make
the fun
or break.
stuff.
March, we sleep in May.
That's true. Oral Roberts, South Dakota, Friday night, the 8-9 matchup. Surprisingly, Oral Roberts is in this matchup, a team that was a top seed a year ago after going unbeaten through the Summit League. It's a completely different league this year, as we've seen.
Yeah, and one of the teams that I've been maybe high on more than others is South Dakota. Even though they're the 9 seed, I think that their talent and just how good that they truly are, in my opinion, is higher than a 9 seed. I think they're much better than their seeding will tell you. So if we're making picks, I'm thinking South Dakota State advances, and they could really quietly make a run at this.
South Dakota advances.
South Dakota advances, yes.
To play South Dakota State.
To play South Dakota State.
Which would be a fun matchup.
Which would be great
Saturday.
in Sioux Falls.
Both matchups would be great. South Dakota State, as you just said, that would be your selection, but could be Oral Roberts against South Dakota State on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, whoever wins that game, this is the play-in game, essentially the 8-9 game between ORU and South Dakota. Again, making it official, I'm picking the Yotes because I do think that they are one of those teams that even though, they finished last in the league, the men's side was so jumbled, and I mean they have so many close losses that I think their record, they're better than their record. I think it'll be a good game regardless because if you're South Dakota State, you get a chance to take on a team that's given them some fits in the past few years in postseason play, but nonetheless should be a good matchup either way.
And then Denver, Kansas City to round off Saturday night. This is a good matchup, too, because you have Tommy Bruner, who's one of the best scorers in the Summit, but they also have some other players. Toko Tynamo, as we mentioned earlier, who's been significant for the Pioneers against a very good Kansas City team right now. Yeah,
this Denver team's obviously been led by Tommy all season long, and one of those things that we talked about in March, we talked about it all the time on the show, is when you have a player like Tommy Bruner, it just elevates your ceiling in March because it's essentially a one-game playoff. And when you have that type of a player who can go off for 35, 40, 45 points even, it changes your capabilities in the month of March. But I think just with the way Kansas City's ended the season, winning 6 in a row, could make it 7 with this win over Denver. I really like their chances of advancing. So if I were to lean to one team, I'd pick Kansas City, but should be a good game regardless.
Kansas City has won both matchups against the Pioneers this year by an average of 15 points. So significant in those margins. It is difficult to beat a good team 3 times in one season. The 4-5 matchup on Sunday, St. Thomas against North Dakota State. This is going to be a fun one. I mean, both of these teams play a very similar brand of basketball.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how defense travels. I don't think there's 2 teams that encapsulate this more than North Dakota State and St. Thomas. I mean, North Dakota State, they're really gritty, hard-nosed. They don't mind winning a game 75-70 or 55-50. They can win in multiple type of ways. They play really good inside-out basketball with Andrew Morgan inside and Bowden Scumberg, Dakari Wheeler-Thomas, and Jakari White on the outside. They just got so many various weapons. But on the other side, St. Thomas, I mean, you just look at, you have to go back to, the non-conference part of the season, but they played a Marquette team who's currently top 10 in the country, and they played them and they could have beaten them. And that win that win has carried them as far as maybe their net rankings and maybe their public perception, but that's just how good St. Thomas is. I think they're one of those teams that can compete with just about anybody in the country. This is going to be a really tough matchup to call. It's hard to pick a winner. I lean towards St. Thomas because I do think they have a slight edge defensively, but I mean, it's really close. You got to pick your poison in this one.
The final game of that Sunday, the Sunday nightcap, Omaha against North Dakota, 2 really good guards going against each other. Frankie Fiddler for Omaha, who led the conference in scoring, or I guess was second in the conference in scoring in conference play. North Dakota, they have B.J. Omot, Trayson Eaglestaff, another guy who's been playing really well, and of course, Tyree Iheanacho.
Yeah, I mean, North Dakota has so many weapons. Omaha, maybe I guess in terms of the amount of weapons, are a little more limited because, after Frankie, it's not necessarily consistent production. But again, when you have a Frankie Fiddler, when you have a guy that hey, we're going to give it to him and everybody get out of the way, changes what you can do in March. But the thing with North Dakota is, I think they just have more weapons. I mean, again, you said it, Tyree Iheanacho, B.J. Omot, Trayson Eaglestaff. I mean, they just have so many guys that can go off for 25, 30, 35 points. I think the edge goes to North Dakota here, but I'm not going to count Omaha out because the way they played all year, they're that type of team where they're scrappy, and when you have a Frankie Fiddler, anything's possible.
Frankie Fiddler loves the bright lights. He loves those big moments. That's the fun part about March. Start to see some of those players come out of the woodwork. Omaha, another player who loves these big moments. On the women's side, Grace Cave comes in leading the Mavericks in the 8-9 matchup on Friday against Kansas City.
Yeah, Kansas City, of course, made that Cinderella run that everybody loved to see a year ago. It all started with that incredible half-court shot. But I mean, this is a tough one to call because Omaha and Kansas City are two teams they have struggled. But I mean, these are also two teams that Kansas City last year went on the run. Omaha went on the run all the way to the championship as a 6th seed. So I don't think it's necessarily easy to call this one. I think it's just a matter of who's got more March magic working for them. And, of course, after what they did a year ago, you can't count either of them out past that first round. Of course, the winner will be going against South Dakota State, they've been a buzzsaw to run into for every team.
Yeah.
But Omaha and Kansas City should be an exciting one to kick things off for the women.
It really should be. Two teams that made runs last year, Omaha from the 6th seed going to the championship game. They could force a rematch against South Dakota State, a rematch of last year's championship game. That will be the second game on Saturday. We'll talk about Denver, North Dakota State, the first game on Saturday.
Yeah, Denver, a team that were on the receiving end of some March Madness magic by Kansas City. I think Denver was a team that, Michaela Brandon hit that shot to give them the lead. Yeah. And if not for that circus shot at the end by KC, Denver could have maybe even been the team to make that run. Yeah. Denver, I think, again, I talked about it in our kind of unofficial predictions a week ago, but Denver's one of those teams with their offense. I think they could make a similar type of run, and North Dakota State was a team that lost to Kansas City on that run that they went on a year ago. I'm not saying North Dakota State is that same team and they can't show up in big moments, but I think if there was a team that could pull off a similar type of upset, it would be Denver. So, I'm gonna unofficially, officially make my pick for Denver, but it should be a good game though. It's not going to be the typical 2-7 type matchup that you might expect.
Yeah, absolutely not. And then South Dakota State, the top seed, will play in the second game against the winner of Omaha and Kansas City. That will be on Summit League Network. And again, another interesting matchup because South Dakota State, they're coming off of a week rest, right? And you're playing against a team that just won the night before. So there's a little bit of momentum that's playing against them. Yeah,
it could be one of those type of situations where maybe, Omaha or KC, whoever plays South Dakota State, maybe they go up 10-4 to start the game, and everyone sitting in their seats. I know there'll be a ton of Jackrabbit fans in attendance, and they might clutch their pearls a bit when their team's down early. But I mean, ultimately, this South Dakota State team, they're so good, they're so well coached. AJ always challenges his team whenever they start a bit slow. I think if they do start off slow, they'll answer the call. If they don't start off slow, I'd expect them to roll. This is a South Dakota State team that's as good as anybody right now.
The 4-5 matchup on Sunday, St. Thomas, South Dakota. Again, South Dakota in that 4 spot again. They kind of struggled earlier in the season. They've played well as of late. St. Thomas has been consistent all year.
Yeah, you just said it just a little bit ago. It's tough to beat a good team 3 times. And the way that South Dakota's beaten them, I mean, at their place, South Dakota won on the buzzer beater thanks to Tori DePerry. Then at home, South Dakota really dominated St. Thomas in the second half of that game, pulled away and won big. It's really tough to beat a good team. And St. Thomas, they've got really good players. I mean, Amber Scalia, Jade Hill, they're capable of going off for 30 in a game. And when you consider all that, they have Joe Langbin inside. She's capable of having big games. It'll be a really tall task for South Dakota to try and beat this St. Thomas team 3 times in one season. That's a tough matchup.
The 3 and 6 matchup, another high-powered offense against a really high-powered offense in North Dakota. Oral Roberts against North Dakota. ORU comes in, Kelsey Music. We know that brand of basketball. She wants to score. It's run and gun. Let's get up and down the court. North Dakota has a similar style scorer in Casey Borovich.
Yeah, Oral Roberts is one of those teams that they can go off. They can score 100 in a game in regulation. Yeah. That's just how good they are. They actually did it against North Dakota not too long ago. This is one that I think heavily favors Oral Roberts. And Oral Roberts is that team where if they're scoring, they can beat anybody, even South Dakota State. I know when you look at the results, they struggled against South Dakota State. But if you look at how they played them in Brookings, it was a close game all the way through until about midway through the third quarter. So this Oral Roberts team, maybe a dark horse. I know they're a 3 seed, but possibly a dark horse that could go on a run if their offense gets going.
Absolutely. The final game of that Sunday on the women's side, those are the matchups. I mean, we have 5 games that we know, I guess 4 games on each side that we know what the matchups are, and then 1 that's still to be decided with those Friday night games in the first round of this year's Summit League tournament. Man, it seems like we've come a long way in the past 9 weeks. We've seen how this season has unfolded. On the women's side, it's been very clear that South Dakota State and North Dakota State were the top 2. But now anything can happen at this point.
Yeah, anything can happen. It's a 1-game playoff. One bad game, can make or break your season essentially. And for South Dakota State, I think they're good enough where, they could possibly get a bid, even if they don't make the championship. Might be a little tougher this year, but again, all that goes out the window. It doesn't matter that they went undefeated in regular season play. Now they had to show their mettle, prove their mettle. I think they can, but all that other stuff goes out the window, and I can't wait to see what happens.
It's going to be so much fun. Hey, quickly, predictions. Who's going to win the men's tournament?
South Dakota State.
Okay.
Gonna pick South Dakota State.
All right, I'm going to go with St. Thomas. Who's going to win the women's side?
The team in Brookings.
I'm also picking them. That'll be our final selections. And now we'll just leave it up to the basketball gods and let it play out starting Friday right here at Sioux Falls. We've been waiting all year for March. March is finally here. Join us, won't you? Join us and visit thesummitleague.org/tickets to purchase tickets today and get inside the Premier Center to watch the madness. I mean, we had madness last year. Big buzzer beater shot from Kansas City over Denver at the buzzer to move on. And, I mean, they ended up going to the semifinals. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, St. Andre's shot will always be remembered. But, hey, it's a new year. All that kind of goes out the window. Not that it will be forgotten. I think it'll always be remembered. But now we got a chance to make new memories, and I'm excited to see just what they are.
Well, who's going to have that one shining moment? We'll see you in Sioux Falls for the tournament. We'll be there covering it for Midco, for the Summit League. And, this has been fun. He's Darron Wallace.
Find me for your masterpieces. All you players, find them.
Yes. Congratulations to all the award winners. I'm Kienan Dixon. So long.